talk is, or this called a conference call, is not about artificial intelligence. It's about you, and it's about how do you think about your life financially different? Does that make sense? How many of you guys have been under the kind of the employee mindset? And by the way, I'll tell you, employees are going away. I don't mean all employees. I mean employee mindset is gone. You're going to need to be an intrapreneur, which means you become a linchpin for the entrepreneur, or you become a great entrepreneur. Does that make sense? And I will tell you 80% of my audience, I'm kind of guessing at this, about 80% of my audience, I personally believe, I don't have a fact on this, I haven't fact checked, personally believe, they might be business owners, they might call themselves entrepreneurs. Here's the difference that I generally call an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are people who literally, yes, they want to make money, but it's not about the money. They want to make money. They enjoy the game of money. They enjoy making it. They enjoy problem solving. There's a fundamental difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs thrive on solving the problem. Entrepreneurs, if they're very, very good, they get good at solving the problems. Does that make sense? But they are still doing quite a few things around the fact that they want financial freedom. So an entrepreneur hits a certain income level and they say, I'm good. And there is nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I'm not actually saying a conversation around one's better than the other. I don't believe that. I think God made you a certain way and he made you perfect just the way you are. And so, but the world of employment, employee mindset, which is, I've worked for you for 5 years, I deserve a raise. It's just gone, guys. It's just gone. All that mentality does is put you in a position that when you ask for that raise, the job doesn't merit the income. And so you'll be let go. Does that make sense? Because it'll be replaced by AI, or it will be replaced by an entrepreneur that can handle leadership-wise multiple different divisions. So I share this with you because you make a decision. Do you want to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur? They're both phenomenal, but then you need to know your role. Because if you think employee mindset, you think you need to work harder to make more money. You think your intellectual property is really the thing that makes you important. The problem is that somebody else has already thought about your intellectual property and is probably 17 steps ahead. And then there's some that are 5 steps behind you. We're not going to win the game on intellect anymore. We're going to win the game on leadership. The woman that I'm about to bring to the stage, or the virtual stage, is, like I said, she's like a savant around money and around business. And every time I watch her get a vision or an idea, I watch her work through the problems to figure out how to solve them. And it becomes a chess game, and it becomes a game of somebody knows, or I just need enough space for a minute to stop and think about this, because I know there's a way to do this. I've never heard her say, it's impossible. I've never heard her say, it can't be done. I've only ever heard her say, let me think about that. I'm going to figure it out. I know there's a way to get it done. How many of you guys know you need a little bit of that leadership in your life? Put an L for leadership in the chat. Put an L for leadership in the chat, because everything you touch comes down to how you lead your thoughts, your minds, and your friend circles. Can we bring Kira to the front platform with me right now, please?
Hi, Shanda.
She might have froze.
I freeze.
No, Shanda did. So, Kira, if you
Shanda froze. Yeah, she's in Puerto Rico. That's how that rolls, you know.
So if you wanted to jump in and start.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Am I back?
I think we're back, yeah.
Yay! So good. Oh, Kira, you already got some lovers in the chat that probably know you from Zone Event. Give Kira some love in the chat. You guys say hi, Kira. If you saw Kira at Zone Event, put the word zone in the chat. If you saw her at Zone Event, put the word zone in the chat. Okay, Kira, Kira and I should have our own TV show or radio show, because we geek out on business all the time. We geek out on parenting all the time. We geek out on changing the world all the time. And we are both lovers of God, right? And so, but what makes us an interesting partnership on the screen right now is that I tapped Kira to talk about things that she's not allowed to talk about because she's under compliance challenges. And so I'm going to do my best to drive her to the edge, and she'll do her best to walk around that and give a compliance answer with a leadership answer that helps you. Are you guys good with that? But yes, in the chat. Yes, in the chat if you're good with that. Okay, so Kira, first and foremost, if you could just share a little bit about the day that you made a decision that you needed to get your finances right. I guess sneeze.
Yeah. No, I was like yelling at my kids. So
Oh.
When you see me do this, I'm yelling at someone on mute. It's not a day. In fact, I'll tell you about the most recent one, which was yesterday. So that's like an ongoing commitment, right? I'm going to get right about my finances. And every time I do more heart work, on things that seem like they're unrelated to business, on my interpersonal relationships, my parenting, whatever, I always come away going, damn, I really am thinking small, with my finances. And I'm really not. I think about it in the framework of being a steward, right? So, you hear this expression all the time, God won't give you more than you can handle. And people manipulate that to stay in a victim mindset. Like, oh, well, I must be pretty strong. God's giving me all these problems I can deal with. But I think what's really meant there is like, God will only entrust you to steward what you can handle. So he's not throwing problems at you because you're strong enough to handle problems, but he's waiting to bestow blessings upon you when you're ready. And you got to be ready to handle them. And so when it comes to my finances, I mean, yesterday was just like, this is ridiculous. I've been thinking so small. I've got to level this up another notch. And so I spent a couple hours on a plane just going through, and the process I go through is clearing my mind of all assumptions, everything I think I already know about things. And I've done this maybe 15 really measurable times in my life. But I do it every time I solve a new problem, right? But like on a level up kind of capacity, I've done this probably 15 times. And I remember the first time I was talking to a boyfriend, I was like, yeah.
Tell me what it is again. You clear your mind.
Clear your mind of all assumptions and beliefs. And I have to, by the way, if you have a team, you have to manage your team around this, because you're going to throw out some ideas when you do this process that your lawyers and your integrators are going to go, oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. And you will throw them into a tailspin. So you have to let them know, hey, like, I'm just throwing things out there. 80% of what I say is going to be total crap, but we're mining for the gold, right? Yeah. And so you clear your mind of all limiting beliefs. And one of the biggest ones that I'll just kind of give you guys as a freebie that usually shows up is our relatedness to time. We tend to think that it takes a certain amount of time to accomplish things. And it's a secret underpinning that already begins framing how you solve problems, right? Is that like things have to be linear versus exponential. Now, I will say Buffett says one of my favorite things, some things do just take time. You can't make a baby by getting 9 women pregnant for a month, right? Some things aren't scalable. Some things are processed. But when you realize how few things are really processed, the process becomes sacred. You really enjoy the things that are processed. You submit and surrender to that process. You wait on the voice of the Lord to tell you what the answer is. But other than that, other than essentially that process of creation that the Lord does with you, everything else can be expedited by thinking more efficiently. So it's clearing all assumptions and beliefs, waiting on the Lord to sort of reveal what the steps are, and then writing them down, whether they make sense to you or not. So I keep my brain very clear and I write down what I'm getting are the steps, even when some part of my own self is some piece of me is saying this isn't possible or whatever. And then, as Shanda pointed out, then the next question becomes, how can we do this? And I've heard Shanda talk about that too, when she wanted to shift as she was doing her marketing, and she went to her team and said, here's what we want to achieve. How can we do this? And the first response is, it's not possible. She goes, I get that. But if it were possible, how would we do it? And it's amazing how people move from impossible to possible.
That's like my favorite
Yeah.
saying, like, if it was possible, how would we do it? And I heard that Sarah Blakely says to her team, because a lot of times in leadership, people are like waiting on an answer. It's like, and I know it's breaking up, you guys. It just is what it is. You're going to have to do. We're both in Puerto Rico. She's downtown Puerto Rico. I'm here, and it's storming like crazy right now. So,
Actually, I'm in DC right now.
oh, you are? You're in DC. Oh, well, then you have no excuse. You should have great internet. And it's not being housed on me. You know what I mean? Like it's being housed stateside, this Zoom. Anyway, my point is that Sarah Blakely says something because people like to say I'm waiting for an answer. That's BS. Like that just tells me you can't do the job. So you can't wait for an answer. You have to either drive it or find another way to get it done. And so Sarah says, if you had nobody to ask, what would you do? Right? It doesn't mean that, but it doesn't mean that you're always going to make the right decision, because then you have to be able to handle feedback. We say this in our leadership program all the time.
Yeah.
Feedback. I got feedback this morning. I said I have a goal that's really, really big for me. And I said, I know it's a lofty goal. And the guy standing next to me this morning, who owns a bank in India, lending company here, he owns a huge AI company, just a real smart guy, really warm, sweet man. And he said, don't use the word lofty. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're already setting your thinking, your mind. You're already setting your thinking with barriers to actually accomplish that, because you're already saying it's big or too big. And so then it circumvents your next actions. We just spent 2 weeks showing people how to take action. You don't even move to the next action because you think it's irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the more you don't take action on that, the more you tell yourself, I'm incapable, or you hurt your confidence. And that's not the problem. It's actually the way you lead your thoughts on this. So everybody write that down. Notice the word process. There's a process to making money, right?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You touched on something I want to share from some recent scripture studies I've been doing. There's a phrase, and we all throw it around, right? Waiting on the Lord. And you talked about, I'm waiting on whatever, waiting on an answer, waiting on the Lord. And in the ancient text, in the actual native language, the context of that word waiting is actually to be preparing expectantly. And reading that really shifted something for me, because I think I am one of those that tends to kind of be very comfortable waiting on the Lord. And what you're just saying really resonated with that. It's like, if it's okay to say we're waiting, as long as we understand that waiting is about preparing expectantly. We're in action for the answer. We're not just sitting around cleaning the dishes or doing the laundry or avoiding. We're actively waiting.
Yeah. So I want to go to the moment where it's like, actually I'm going to take you to the present moment, because I think a lot of people get interviewed on the moment that everything changes. And I love that you brought it to a present moment of thinking bigger. The number one thing that I hear most people say as they get older and continue to get older and look back is, I wish I would have thought bigger, at least if they were in the game of wealth creation. Because you start to realize that every goal you pick is really quite attainable. It comes down to some of the people that you hang out with. It comes down to a lot of the people you hang out with. I'll just say that it really does cut. Like, it comes down. If I have a question about, say I wanted more money, I know I could call Kira to get more money. Kira and I were rapping like 2 months ago. She's like, I want to give you 20 million on a deal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that I could go to her for cash. We just have to figure out how to make that deal work. Right? And so that's proximity to people. Does that make sense, you guys? It's proximity to people. And same with the belief systems. When you clear your mind, people think, how many of you guys have a belief system that you think money is hard to get or make? Just be honest. Don't listen to what I just said and give the smart answer. Give the honest answer. Like, when you walk through the day, I see some smiles, right? Do you have a belief system? I love the honesty I can already see on the chat, right? Like, on the videos, for you guys who have the niceness to turn on your videos so we can see you, right? Like if I said that you need $500,000 right now to launch your business or an app, could you find that $500,000 by the end of the month? Yes or no? Yes or no? Could you find that $500,000 by the end of the month? Yes or no? Just answer the question honestly. Don't be like, I'm going to be like an air in the sky, like be positive thinking, like for real. This tells Kira and I how to help, right? Could you find the $500,000 by the end of the month? Okay, awesome. Good to know. Kira, when you're looking at today's world right now and where we're going, what are some of the things you're preparing for your older age, for your children? What are you preparing for financially? What's driving you?
Yeah, so I'm very obsessed with legacy build out. So I'm focused on that both financially, but also preparing and training. So teaching, like my son, part of why we're here in DC is he's going to do his second speaking engagement. He's 9, so this is his second paid speaking engagement. And he is got a suit and he's going to go speak to a group of investors. And I'm not part of it other than I was his manager, right? I helped set it up, but he's doing the whole thing. And so when I think about at this stage in life, for me, when I think about money, it's really about teaching as many people about the game. And then for me, the next piece is like, how do I participate in that? Because you can pour into others and they go do it by themselves, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I find it more fun when we can grow together and grow collaboratively. So it's teaching others about the game, my children included, but other people, and then creating a platform. So I've spent the last 5 years building an ecosystem of various companies so that basically I got tired of having to say no because there wasn't a fit, right? It's an important discipline to say no, I can't do that if you really can't.
I'm going to ground this a little bit. I'm going to ground this a little bit for relevancy. It's like, so go back to collaboration. Because I think this is a big way that you grew, right? So you didn't grow by yourself. She was the leader that had the vision. And say she sells pens, well, pens have ink in them, right? And pens have Post-its, right? And so the like this idea of being an independent woman or man is not a smart idea. It will keep you an employee mindset, even if you're a business owner, but it will also drown you out for what's happening in the world right now. And I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm going to be real because I'm real. I just had this conversation with somebody else that is making like $700,000 a year. I'm like, it's already too late and it's not too late. It's already too late and it's not too late. In other words, it's time to learn the game of collaboration. Kira learned it before this world started to AI all over the place. But the AI it's closed the window. You can't catch up to the AI at this point, right? Like, so it just is what it is. Certain industries are going to go away and they're going to be innovated into AI. But you grew on collaboration. So can you just kind of take us back to the beginning of collaboration so that people can maybe catch a vision? That's my hope.
Yeah, it was 2017. I'd finally hired enough employees that my business could work without me. I had about 25 seconds of being ecstatic about that and then spun into terrible depression because I didn't know who I was or what my value was or what I was contributing or what I was worth. And I had 2 breakthroughs when that happened. One was my mom, who at the time I resisted what she said. I told her, I said, I've got all these great people, but no one can ever do whatever. Can't remember what it was, the way I do. And she said, that's interesting. She said, I wonder what it is about your ego that's fed by believing that no one can do that except for you. And of course, I'm like, that's not it at all. I would love to give that up. I can't, like I've been trying, I've hired, everyone's quit. It hasn't worked. And about a year later, it finally clicked. Thank God our mothers, they plant seeds and then they let them grow, on the soil that they've built in their own time. And so that was one piece of it. And then the second piece of it, in terms of collaboration, is the context in which we see people. So I recognized that I really value hardworking people. I valued hard work. And so when you looked at it, I had set up my entire life to have to work hard because I wanted to be a good person. And I thought people who work hard are good people. Yeah. And I remember in that moment deciding to change my mindset. And you know what? I really value and admire people who do jack shit and make a lot of money doing it. Like, I really respect that. And I didn't believe it when I said it the first time, but I kept saying it. I kept saying it. And then, you look back 5 or 7 years later and you're like, wow. So I would say when it comes to collaboration, the first step, it's kind of going back to that clearing your mind. When it comes to collaboration, the first step is really valuing what can be created collectively. And then the second step is realizing what's in you that blocks people from rising up to fill a spot that you need filled so you can get bigger. And typically it has something to do with your own fear of being inadequate at the next level, right? Because you don't know what the next level is. You don't know if you're going to be any good at it. You're good at this level. And so there's something there subconsciously that has you block people from being successful around you. And when you can get that out of the way, and that is like a daily, literally daily. It's not like, oh, I've gotten to a level where I don't have that. No, I get up every morning and I'm like, what is in the way from me elevating everyone around me to their next level of greatness? And the what is in the way is what about me is in the way. And I still have a list, and
and you guys should write that down. Like I just wrote that down. So that's a great leadership question that moves you. And it's also important to look at what is your vision? Like what did God call you to do? And look at your talents. Right? Like like I remember people would say, what's your superpower? I'd be like, I don't know. Like I can give people advice. But you do know, because you can look in your history and see there's a pattern of something that you do. And I'm telling you, getting specialized. So everybody write down the word specialized. Getting specialized in what you're up to, I think, is really a great next step to look at. So again, I sat with, do you know Pavan? I sat with Pavan the other day. Do you know him? He's super smart. And he has a different leadership quality where he looks at his team and it's like he knows, like they are building on something that a code that he created so long ago for AI when it wasn't even a thing. And he was like, he goes, I think we're at about 100 million that we've invested in this at this point, and we've refaced the AI 4 times or 3 times or 4 times in the last year. My point is, I thought to myself, gosh, most people couldn't handle that. Go back to the drawing board and do it again. Go back to, I teach somebody, show somebody how to build a sales team. I'm like, trying to build a sales team all year. I'm like, he's rebuilt it 4 times in a year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And do you know how much money goes down the toilet in those moments? That's only an employee would think money went down the toilet. He thinks we got smarter.
Yeah.
We got better. It's an investment. The money went to an investment. I might not have created what I wanted to, but I'm moving in that direction. And so he is basically the lead visionary. And, he doesn't, he's thinking very, very big. Do you know what I mean? And he's the one who actually told me on my goal, he's like, don't put the word lofty in front of it. Right. And so I share this with you because I heard somebody else came up with a technology the other day for the coaching industry. He already has had it for years. And they think theirs is brand new, and it's not. The only reason why I'm saying this is I think it's time to collaborate. Right. And Kira, I watch you and it's like, you are a collaboration maniac. I'm not going to share your recent deal because I don't know if it's up and out in the world right now, but she just signed she just signed a really, really big deal with a company you'd all know about. And there was a second opportunity to give to that deal with energy. She didn't have the energy. She went and partnered with somebody else to bring the energy. Do you guys get what I'm saying? You don't have to understand the deal of what I just said, but it's big deals. And she's thinking, who do I know? I could see how this could be even better. Who do I know that could bring this partnership to the table? Because then you get a piece of it, they get a piece of it, and everybody lives more abundantly. Just watch your mentality, because putting your head down and working the grind is not what you get paid for. You get paid for your perception, your perspective, your point of view. You get paid for that. You do not get paid for working harder. And if you are an employee somewhere right now, you better become an entrepreneur, because the world of employment is going away. You get what I'm saying? It's changing big time. And you get paid for your perception, not for just pushing a pencil. Does that make sense? Go ahead, Kira.
And yeah, well, speaking of that exact deal, I mean, going back to when we cleared the slate and our core team got together and thought about what to do with it, there was a point where one of the ideas on the table was to just shut the company down. And now we've opened up a $1 billion, multi-billion dollar market. So, it was literally the difference of, we were like, okay, we're going to shut the company down. We're going to take one more meeting. We're like, do a final, like, maybe there's something that could happen here. And then it went a totally different direction because we weren't really willing to quit.
So good. Come on, you guys, say so good. Everybody put so good in the chat. Seriously. Now I'm going to throw it over to all you guys listening. I'm going to get into some deals right now. So where in your life right now do you feel like throwing in the towel? And what do you need to put on your calendar right now to sit, and maybe not with yourself, but with a couple people? Because I will tell you, when you quit, she said, we weren't willing to quit. It's like that in a marriage. You hope you don't both quit on the same day. You both can't quit on the same day. You hope you got enough people around you that when you want to quit, they say don't. And this is the danger sometimes with spouses, because sometimes spouses will say, I don't want you to feel like this or hurt like this, or you are happy over here, just quit, right? I support you quitting. You really got to watch that. My husband did that once with me. I was like, I think I'm just done. I'm just going to go over here and do this. And he's like, okay, I mean, I support you. I jumped out of bed so fast and ran upstairs to go work, because I was like, that scared me more than anything in the world, because if he backed me up, that's a problem. I might quit. I got to go, right? And so it's really important to understand that. I know we're freezing, but it just is what it is. We just have to walk through it. So, okay. So Kira, if somebody was getting into something like real estate or crypto, or they were like, I don't know how to go make money, but I know I need to multiply money. What is your leadership on that? What is your thought? Like, what do you see in the world? She's not giving you financial advice, you guys. She's just showing you how she would think about it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what industry. I mean, the first point is, well, actually, let me back up a step. It does matter what industry. Don't build the vision around what you want to make. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, oh, I make these really great little fruit popsicles and my kids love them. Like, okay, great. Like, that's awesome. But like, that's not going to scale. So you can go back and you can make fruit popsicles when you're already rich and you've got a lot of money to pour into competing with like whoever already makes popsicles and sells them with commercial contracts to all the distributors in the country, right? What you want to do is actually start again with that clear slate at looking at a business where you have core skills and competencies, where you have a perspective that can add value to an industry that is already established, that you can learn and you can do well. The less you have to innovate the first time you try to make a big difference, the better you're going to do, right? People want to come in and solve the world's problems, but they haven't even solved their own problems yet. Don't do that. Like, go figure out an industry where you can learn the industry, learn what the tools are. So if it's real estate, if I was just thinking about a friend of mine who did this the other day, I wish I had been as smart as him. He sold a business. He spent a year just he wanted to get into real estate syndication. He went to every conference imaginable. I don't think I went to my first real estate conference until I'd been in real estate 15 years. He went to every conference. He spoke with everyone. He asked them what they do. He asked them how to do it. And then he wrote a book. Less than a year into the industry, he wrote a book of the most common mistakes people make and how to avoid them. And it was really good. I'm like, shit, it took me 15 years to figure all that out. And so, just knowing you want to do something significant to accomplish a specific goal, which is usually about resources, find a product, find an industry. If it's crypto, if it's real estate, it really doesn't matter. They're all going to go through a lot of massive change. And so the more that you can get comfortable with the status quo and master what's happening right now, then you can ride with the change in the future, right? Like I don't think I'm fairly industry agnostic. And I think that's important. I think what you want to be isn't industry specific or product specific. You want to learn, as Shanda said, leadership specific, problem solving skills, relational skills, people building relationships. And it's not going to matter what industry you do it in. So pick something that you already know, you're already good at, that's already easy, that you understand, and develop those other skills first. How to build teams, how to lead people. And I think Shanda talks about it. I haven't been through her list building course yet, but it's like you could build a list for anything.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I almost don't even need to know your product. Go build your list and then look at what your list wants and sell them that. You know,
That's
it's like,
exactly it.
if you have the, like, so that's a skill, that's building a skill.
Yeah, it's so good.
Sorry, what was that?
No, that's so good. Like when you look at what's your viewpoint on real estate right now?
So I, I am still buying a lot of real estate very aggressively. I think it's very important to focus on specific asset classes. I'm focused on multifamily real estate and large scale industrial. I also think that structure is the name of the game. Well, because residential, we're still so under built out in the number of units available for people to live in, that the supply demand equation is going to be in our favor for a very, very long time. That as we go into a hyperinflationary period, which I think is going to be the next decade, rents are just going to continue to go up. Salaries will go up too for people who can stay employed, and they'll be able to pay rent. And the industrial warehouses, because I think we're going to see more and more and more shipping. Retail is going to get shut down. Office is going to get shut down. But you know, Amazon needs more warehouse space. FedEx needs more warehouse space. You know, the ability to move goods and products is going to not just stay the same, but grow. And that's when I talk about that, I talk about real estate like a widget, like that core widget. That's a well-made widget, an apartment building or an industrial warehouse. That's a good widget. But the widget doesn't matter if it's in the wrong packaging, right? So if you're Ford and you're making brakes and you make really good quality brakes, but you don't have a chassis to attach them to or a car to put them in to go sell them, doesn't matter how great your brakes are. So when I think about real estate, I think about my widget. I want a solid, well-made widget. I want something not very creative, not very innovative. I don't want to be on the cutting edge. I want it to be stable, steady, boring, super boring. And then I want to wrap it in something fascinating. So what I'm interested in is the overlay between blockchain technology, AI technology, and real estate. So for me, most of my career, my success has been in being interdisciplinary and marrying something very standard and basic with something very innovative and new, and figuring out how to bring the standard and basic into the innovative and new. So we've been working 3 years now already on our blockchain platform for real estate. So you can go out and go buy real estate syndication. Lots of people do real estate syndication. What we're doing, and honestly, what we're sharing with you guys, we don't even talk to our investors about, because I think it's just too much to even think about. So they're just going in and they're buying regular real estate syndications, and they think that we compete with every other real estate syndicator, and they're comparing apples to apples. What they don't know is that the people who've invested with us in future years are going to be on the cutting edge of blockchain as well, because behind the scenes, we've been developing blockchain technology, which will allow our real estate widget to be put on the blockchain and traded very efficiently. So when I look at C chains in economic systems, I look at history, and I think history tends to repeat itself. So where can I find something analogous? And I'll give you an example. Back when the European Union was creating the euro dollar, and nobody knew whether that was going to be successful or not, back in 2006, 7, 8, I believed it would be successful because I looked at the US model with the Confederate dollar and moving into a single dollar from every state having its own dollar, and how that united the United States economically, created it to be a superpower. So I was still buying widgets. I was still buying real estate, but I was buying futures in the euro as well. So we were making 40, 60% returns just on the currency exchange on our very boring, simple widget. So we had a boring, simple widget, and then we had a complex wrapper around it. My new belief is that blockchain and cryptocurrency is like what I did with the euro back in 2006. That is the complex wrapper that goes around a very simple product to make it very innovative. My long-term, and when I say long-term, I mean multi-100-year perspective on real estate, is that my great-grandkids and Shanda's great-grandkids are going to be owning blockchain systems that other people who didn't come to the game on time, their great-grandkids are going to be buying and selling real estate units as they move. So you live in California, you decide you want to move to Florida, and there's a blockchain system that you live in. 123 apartment in California has a 123 apartment in Florida. And so when you go to move from California to Florida, nobody owns real estate anymore, right? You don't have someone who owns an apartment building or even a single family house. You own a unit of a right to live somewhere. We already see this happening. Like the hedge funds right now own 44% of the single family homes in the United States, from what I understand.
People have no
And,
idea.
So, yeah. And so, you're going to move. And when you do, you're going to exchange your economic interest in your home in California for your economic interest in Florida. And who's going to make money every time that happens? Whoever owns the exchange that the trading is happening on. And those families, whoever position themselves in that space, those families are going to be the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Forbes for the next era of the economy. And so again, kind of going back to what I said before, for me, my widget's real estate. I understand real estate. So I go buy simple real estate, but then I innovate it in what's going on with blockchain. There's a lot of people who are going to lose a lot of money in real estate because they're just going out and they're just buying real estate, thinking real estate's always going to go up. And I saw that happen to people back in 2002. I saw that happen to people back in 2007, 2008. I saw that happen to people right now who were buying commercial real estate thinking that a 3.25% mortgage was never going to go up. And I think that's not factually or historically the trend, right? And we're not, one of the things I think that's made me successful is that while I have a modicum of intelligence, I've really tried not to rely on that. And I try to just think about things in the most simple way. I call it 90 proofing. And it's building concepts and ideas. So someone with a 90 IQ, a below average IQ, could be wildly successful. If you 90 proof everything you do, if you always think, how do I structure this so anyone who steps into it can be successful, then you've got something that's like scalable, replicable, expandable, growable, and will help the most people. One of the traps intelligent people fall into is like, you think if you've got 160 IQ, you can do something so brilliant. Well, the problem is the only person who could buy that business from you or replace you is another person with 160 IQ or higher. And
let's talk about that for a second. I love that you brought this up because like what people are not, some of you guys are following things like the World Economic Forum and things like that, and you're hearing, they're telling you, my husband used to laugh at me. I used to say, the news is a funnel. And he's like, stop being a conspiracist. I'm like, I'm not being a conspiracist. Like people buy placement. There's a couple big people that buy placement companies, and they use that because their market literally watches that. So there's a whole market that doesn't watch the news. Are you a news follower or a non-news follower? Put news or no in the chat. Put news or no in the chat. Okay. So see how you got a lot of no's, you got a couple news, right? And so that tells you who the market is, right? And so I share that with you because the World Economic Forum has been telling you for a long time, you will own nothing and be happy. And people are like, they miss it, right? They just miss it. But it's being put in through, like, I did a post, Kira, on my Instagram that I put that says, I did a caption, take your kids out of school, right? And it was, should you do private or non-private, right? Like private education being homeschooling, non-private school system, right? And I just posted this yesterday. So 28,000 people have watched it, 196 have commented, 482 have saved it, right? And I share this with you because if you go read through the comments, it's wild to see the comments, and you'll see the comments are kind of one-sided, other than a couple brave people. Why? Because what happens is that when a group of people start talking, right? A group of people start talking about a certain topic, what happens is people get nervous to interject a different perspective. Okay, you get paid on perspective. Does that make sense? You get paid on perspective. And so you have a couple people who are not afraid to share something on there, but you have a lot of people who are very afraid to share something because a lot of people are saying homeschooling, rah, 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 right? And you have this one really bold teacher that I saw that said, you guys are all crazy. I'm a teacher and there's no indoctrination happening, right? And I'm like, she obviously never understood the education system before she even became a teacher. I believe her. I completely believe that she believes that. But she doesn't know where money started. She doesn't know the
Right.
economic system. She doesn't know why school was created. She doesn't understand the medical system, right? And so when people don't understand the economics of something, they have a lot of opinions about something. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So put the word blind spot in the chat. Put the word blind spot in the comments right now. Okay, blind spots are real and we all have them. The global economy of wealth is created on partnerships. Now, I want you to ask yourself, who are the 5 closest people that you spend your time with? Forget even 5. Write down the people you talk to the most in your life. And I will tell you, you should have an aha moment. Because if you look at that and you look at your state of your business, the state of your marriage, if you're married, or the state of your singleness, your happiness level, it is all connected to
Yes.
that, the atmosphere which you have created. Kira, I know you just talked about BlockFi. Can you talk a little bit? I know you're not a crypto specialist or anything like that, but she has the crypto fund, right? And so what's your kind of take on what people are saying around, cryptocurrency? Do you think it's going to replace money? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I spoke at a crypto event in January, and the host got kind of upset with me because I don't think he was expecting me to say that crypto was actually going to be used to institute the World Economic Forum's "you will own nothing and you will be happy." But I actually think that while most of the early adopters to crypto are anarchists or more independent thinkers and think that crypto is going to decentralize money and make everything more accessible, it actually, once fully adopted, is going to make everything 100% transparent, trackable, traceable, and controllable. So there's going to be some unintended consequences, in my opinion, from blockchain and cryptocurrencies. However, having said that, my answer is sort of 2-part. Number one, when people talk about what backs the dollar, I'll just throw this out to the chat. What do you guys think backs the US dollar? It's kind of a trick question because people who think they're smart think they know the answer, but they're probably wrong. Oh, I think I saw the right answer in there by one person. Let's see if I can find it. All right, so we got some nothings, we got some gold, silver, we got some magic, some faith. But we have one person who agrees with me, so we got one person who's right. That was a joke, guys. Miss Erna, war. What backs the US dollars is our Navy, our Army, our Marines, our guns, right? And secondarily by our economy. What makes the US dollar powerful is the fact that China doesn't want to have to try to collect our debt. If we distill this down to the smallest pieces, it's not really unlike a very simple consumer transaction. Kids go to school, one of the kids borrows $1 from another kid so they could buy their lunch, but that kid who borrowed the dollar is a bully. If you lent the bully $1 and you go back and you try to get the dollar back and you know the bully's going to punch you in the face, do you ask for your dollar back? You don't, right? So the US dollar and the pegging to the US dollar is backed by our military strength and our power as a superpower, which is backed by our economy overall, broadly, right? So when we think about our currency vis-a-vis other currencies, whether that's another government's currency or a blockchain currency, a cryptocurrency, there is nothing to enforce Bitcoin as a standard, right? And so while will be a point, I believe, where we meet some sort of tipping point of mass adoption and it becomes a common agreed upon concept and a powerful construct, we will never lose, in my opinion, nation statehood and the militaries that back nation states. So the concept that cryptocurrency is going to eventually replace the US dollar and other currencies, I don't buy it. I think that the nation states are going to continue to vie for their power, right? And so they may adopt a cryptocurrency, but the US government using a cryptocurrency versus a dollar doesn't change anything about the underlying political power that the US government holds, right? Or the power that it wields. So while I can accept that all nations in maybe 50 years are going to be completely blockchain technologies, I can't accept the idea that we're going to be moving away from nation statehood into completely decentralized financial currencies that have nothing backing them other than common agreement. So I do think that eventually our governments are going to get on board and start to control their own cryptocurrencies. But as long as we have war, as long as we have militaries, as long as we have physical borders that defend specific nations and nation states and national identities, we're going to have our own state currency or federal currency. It may be blockchain, but I don't think that's as relevant as people think it will. It will be.
So good. How many of you guys are in Meant to Be Live, put MML, or 1%, put 1%, or jumped into Hardcore Leadership the last couple of weeks when we had our flash sale, put HCL, anybody like that? So Kira's going to be at the Puerto Rican Mastermind, you guys, which this is only for our clients, just FYI. So if you're not one of our clients, that is not for you. So don't start messaging my customer service department asking how to come to Puerto Rico. But she is in Puerto Rico, working with people there and at the mastermind, because it's so important. Kira, you know this about me, but I am not the type of person that likes to grow and not share the information. Does that make sense? And I think the model of masterminds is so broken in my industry. I shared this the other day. I'm asked to speak at them all the time, and there is no structure, no rhyme or rhythm, no anything with most of these masterminds. It's just kind of a free-for-all for people to just speak about topics. And so one of the reasons why I want Kira to come there is because I really believe, and I say this all the time, I believe earning years are over. And what I mean by that, listen to me, what I mean by that is earning is about working hard to be able to, if I work really hard and I make more money, and maybe next year I make $200,000 a year, and then next year I make like $300,000 a year, and then maybe I can make $500,000 a year. I think it takes too long. Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yep.
It takes too long. You need to take some of these earnings and you need to multiply it. And that's exactly what Kira does. It's what I do. It's what every advisor I know that is rich does. It might not be the full advice that they will give you. And I don't mean to sound negative on that. I go to advisors all the time. But I go to advisors with my idea. You take some notes here. What is your idea? What would feel safe to you? What would feel exciting to you, right? What would feel smart to you, right? Like what do you see as the future of you and your family? Does that make sense, you guys? Put yes if you do. Okay, so that being said, Kira, if you could stay here with me and not chat. What is really important is that this idea is what needs to come into the multiplying idea. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Yes? Because like, for instance, passive income is important to me. Passive income is important to Kira. Right? And so passive income is now important for me to massively build out for my son, because he's not getting an Uber driving. You know what I mean? So what Kira is teaching her son right now, speaking on stage, my son speaks on stages as well. Why is she having her son speak on a stage versus sitting in a classroom right now? What do you think? Leadership. If he's got the ability to spot that he can speak about something and create something, it's not really the act of speaking. I mean, I don't think it is anyway. It's the act of actually solving a problem, getting up there and being a little leader. Because if he can get up there and be a little leader, her other son loves YouTube. And so he doesn't have to do perfect YouTube stuff. It's hilarious. I get messages from them, and it's like off her phone, and her phone's just sitting on the floor, and she's doing her business, and her little kid, her little boy, is literally creating YouTube videos, running up, running back, running up, going like this, right? And it's like, is she sitting there going, no, you're not doing that right. You got to do it like this. No, she's letting him be creative and do it messy and figure it out. Does that make sense? Because it's better to post the video, or it's better to do the video than to get the video right. Because what happens is you get a new data point, which is when I do the video and nothing happens, well, why does nothing happen? I'm going to go into proximity and start studying the people that it's working, and then either start partnering with them, probably start learning from them, then start partnering. Do you know the quickest way to create a great partnership? Get financially rich is one. Number two, it's be a contribution to someone else. And I was a contribution to somebody else, and still am, many, many times without charging them a dime, by the way. And somebody asked me last year who's trying to get her business up, and she has something that I would love to do. And she asked me to pay for it. And I was like, I've got like 6 of her. You know what I mean? Like, why would I pick somebody that's not way ahead? If she would have done it for free, I would have been talking about it all over the place. I hate to say it like that, you guys. I have a girlfriend who literally did her first launch online was multiple 6 figures. What did she do? She picked 5 people who were ahead of her, and she went and worked for those 5 people for 2 months and helped them grow Twitter accounts when nobody had Twitter accounts. And she used people in the Philippines to do all the work, and she paid those small little bills when she had no money. From her 9-to-5 job, she paid them, but she helped 5 people create Twitter accounts. Then she went and did a video launch, and guess who supported her? Those 5 people and some of their friends, right? And that's the proximity is power. That's the unfair advantage. And people don't like a world like that, but as long as you do have people, you're going to have people who do have favorites. And they have favorites because of the heart of whoever contributed to them. If Kira's upset and I pick up the phone, what do you think happens to our friendship? It goes deeper. If I'm upset and she picks up the phone, or I'm having a business struggle and she picks up the phone and she helps me through it, or I help her. You guys get what I'm saying? That's where great friendships happen. And I'm telling you, the economy is about great friendships. Watch who you are to people and make sure that you always don't have your hand out for the work that you're doing. And charge what you're worth, right? But pay attention to the overall strategy of where you're trying to get. I will tell you, if I started it all over again, I would have went to a Tony Robbins, and I would have actually literally went in and volunteered to work with him. And I would have worked my ass off, and I would have had a partnership in a division somewhere, because that would have been on my mind. That would have been my idea. When I was in real estate, I literally went in and I built out a whole division for an entire year. And I didn't even ask for a paycheck until I started to hire people for that division. I was like, shit, what am I? I don't have a title, a name, or paycheck. And so then I got that deal on the table. Does that make sense, you guys? And so I'm telling you, the world today is about partnerships, and it is about you really getting what is the thing you do well and how do you go the extra mile on it. Kara, I know you have a vision now where you're growing out companies and you're being a mom, and you guys, if you have any Christian amazing men, she's looking for her husband, but he's got to be a good guy. He's got to be fun. He's got to love her 2 little boys. He's got to be a Christian. He's got to be diehard for the Lord. And he's got to love the fact that she never stops being this. Do you know what I mean? Like, she loves to solve problems, and she's never going to retire out. Does that make sense? So anybody, so I'm putting it out there, Kara. You never know. You never know. Your husband could be watching right now.
You could be sitting here watching this right now. That's right. I believe for it. I believe for
So
it.
good. So good.
I mean, everything you said is true personally too, right? I mean, who you associate with, who you're around, that's where your people are going to come from.
Yeah, so good, so good. Any final words, Kira, that you want to share about just how to think about money in this new economy? And we talked about where it's going, but how to think about money.
Yeah. I would just, I guess it's just a little tip. If you're finding you're struggling when it comes to thinking about it as money, just take the money out of it. I mean, I think Shanda, you touched on it. It's like, it's just money is just one more form of energy or an exchange of value. So, if you take the money piece out of it and you just get up every day and think like, how can I contribute value to the people around me, and who do I have around me, right? Do I have the right people around me, and how can I contribute value? The money piece will start to solve itself.
So good. So good. Awesome, you guys. Send Kira some love. Give her lots of love, 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 everybody. Kira, what's one thing that you can talk about at the Mastermind coming up?
Oh, geez.
I know what I'm asking you. I'm building into the curriculum.
You know what I'd love to talk about if people are interested in it is the theme of the really successful people who they say they're lazy. They're not really lazy, but what they're saying, the shorthand of what they're saying is that they're really, really efficient. Like they will not allow their time to be taken advantage of. And I think that that's been a game changer for me as I've gotten better at that. And if that's something that would be of value, I'd be happy to.
Okay, so do you
talk
guys
on that,
understand her
but
question?
whatever you-
She's asking you a value conversation. And so there's I want to open up what you just said and then close down live. So first of all, I'm going to say bye to social media. Social media sending you so much love. I'm going on Flex Week. I'm going to St. Bart's with the girls on Wednesday, and I won't be back until the following Monday. So I wanted to give a heads up for social media for our regular streams. Today is the last one of the month. Okay, so bye social media. Sending you so much love, Keith.